All right, good morning, good morning. Welcome to our edition of 3.0 training today, this morning. I think some of them are caught with the wrong link today. Some were given a wrong link to come in. So anyway, we will start. Well, today we're going to talk about pricing strategies. We're going to be looking into it from a different angle. So because we have covered pricing strategies two times before this, and so we want to look at it from a different perspective. So what we are going to be looking at is pricing ahead of the market. That's what we're going to look at. And we are also going to be looking into the window of opportunities. So before we start, maybe I should introduce myself, because I was reminded to introduce myself, something that I'm not used to. So I'm William from MC1, Market Center 1. I've been in the business for, in real estate for 34 years now. Started in 1987 during a shift market. And so I have gone through 3 shift markets. I'm currently now in Market Center 1 as productivity coach, division director, and also training coordinator. So today we're going to look into pricing strategies, price ahead of the market. We'll be also looking into windows of opportunities. Now in every shift market, it is not the same, all right? Not every shift market is the same. There will be some variations, but some of the basic stuff and the fundamentals of a shift market is the same, right? Like you need to price ahead of the market to find that window of opportunity. That is the same in every shift market. So in a shift market, cautious consumers appear willing to let deals die and great opportunities pass them by in hopes of getting a steal. So they start missing the forest of the trees. Wary of paying too much, buyers go too far and begin to offer too little. And only properties that appear to be serious bargains get serious attention. Sellers who are slow to recognize this shift will quickly become overpriced and consequently overlooked. So when market shift, first buyers and then sellers become overly guarded and set in motion another intriguing game of the price is right. So that's the kind of situations that we're looking at in a shift market. All right, so let's move on to the slides. So when we look into the shift market, we got to look into the mindset of the buyers mindset. Okay, so this is a typical property cycle where on the left hand side you can see that the prices are going up, and on the right hand side the prices are going down. So in every property there is always a cycle over years of 10 years, 12 years, and then it will go down the other way for another 5-7 years. All right, so it differs from market to market, and the graph may not necessarily be this equivalent shape. All right, but it is still the same. There will be ups and there will be down in the property cycle. Now what is available, what do we see in the property cycle? On the left hand side is a good market. All right, and in a good market it is sometimes what we call a seller's market. It is where the situation is where the demand is more than supply, where there are more buyers in the market than sellers, more buyers in the market than sellers. So in an economic terms, when demand is more than supply, what happens to the price? The price goes up. So in a seller's market, there are more buyers chasing for fewer supply, fewer units available for sale in the market. And so because of that, buyers don't mind paying a bit more to buy the property. So they don't mind paying slightly above the market rate to buy a property because they don't know when will be the top of the property cycle, when prices will reach the top. And so because of that, they will start to pay more, slightly more for the prices. And because of this, they tend to push up the prices. And so prices, like you see on the left, will go on higher and higher and higher. So on the other side of the cycle, we will see, and so because of that, you can see on the left hand side here, the price trend is on an upward trend. On the other side of the cycle is what we call a buyer's market. Why do we call it a buyer's market? It's because supply is more than demand. That means to say there are more sellers than buyers. In economic terms, when supply is more than demand, what happens to the price? The price goes down. So price is on a downward trend. So in a buyer's market or in a shift market, we will see that buyers are worried that they pay too much. And they do not know when is the next slide and how far down the price will go. And so that's the kind of mindset and mentality of buyers. Buyers in the seller's market don't mind paying a bit more, but buyers in the shift market worried about paying too much. So that's the contrasting difference in the behavior of the buyers on both sides of the cycle. All right. So this is one chart that I want to show you that for the past few years, prices has been on a slide, right? Prices has been on a slide, and increase of prices has been going down and down and down. And so we are now practically in a shift market. So according to Property Guru's Malaysia's Property Market Index, they say they have seen price reductions in the 4 big markets. Now, Property Guru is basing their statistics on asking prices of the clients in the portal, and so they say they've been seeing price reductions in the 4 big markets. Kuala Lumpur, Selangor, Johor all experience price decreases, and analysts believe that the downturn might stick around for long. Johor showed the worst results with price reductions of minus 0.9% in Q3 2020. Kuala Lumpur, on the other hand, showed a reduction of 1.35% and Selangor 1.04%. On the national scales, Bank Negara has announced of a drop in Q3 2020 by about 0.4%. So it is quite consistent. These figures are showing that prices are on a reduction and we are moving into a shift market. So this is extracted from Asia Property HQ. So the mindset of sellers and buyers, this is what we need to understand so that we will know and understand what is market of opportunity, the window of opportunity, and how buyers and sellers are affecting and influencing the market. All right. So in the buyer's market or in the shift market, who has the biggest say and biggest influence in the market? It's the buyers. It's the buyers. That's why we call it the buyer's market. So seller's mindset. Let's look at seller's mindset. What happens to sellers in the shift market? Some of them are still in the past market, right? Meaning that they think that they are still in a good market. And that I don't blame them, because a lot of laymen, so-called laymen, because they are not experts or professionals in the property market in studying and researching the market, right? So most of the time, sellers are not aware they have already moved into the shift market. We have sellers who've been wanting to sell their properties for the past 2 years, 3 years. So that means to say they were in the market in 2017, 2018, and that time market was still good. It wasn't in a it wasn't a shift market yet. But they are not aware that they are now moving into a shift market. So because they are still in the past market, the way they want to sell the property is the way they want to sell in a good market. So what they'll normally do is they call in the agent and they will tell the agent how much they want to sell. But the worst thing is they will tell the agents themselves are not aware and are still approaching the market and approaching the sellers in a past market as if they were still in a good market. That's the worst thing. And so buyers and agents move into a shift market, but in the past mindset, in a past market mindset. And so sellers will call in the agents and tell them how much they want to sell, and agents will say, okay, let me try this price, even though the price is way out of the market. And so that's why you see a lot of properties are still sitting in the market after 2 years, after 3 years, they are still sitting in the market. That is because sellers or even agents are still in the past market. Sellers' mindset is that they will hope to hold on to the price. So I'm sure when you tell your sellers that the price is now lower, price has gone down, they will say, never mind, try at this price, try at this price. They will want to hold on to the price that you can only sell in a good market. And so in a shift market, it will be challenging because buyers are not looking at that kind of price anymore. And what happens? Sellers will get frustrated or they will get disappointed. All right. So if you are the one that tell them that this price cannot sell anymore, they will be probably so disappointed, and they may drop your advice or your figures that you're showing them, and so therefore then they move to another agent, and that agent may say, can try lah, let me try and see lah, because that agent is not knowing that they are already in a shift market. So that's the frustration of an agent also. So buyer's mindset is to expect price to go down. This is what is happening and in a buyer's market, in a shift market. They're expecting the prices to go down, and they are always worried that they will pay more. And so worse still, if they're expecting price to go down, how will they behave? They'll be sitting in a fence. If they don't see any price movements, then they will be sitting at a fence, and they may want to delay their decision in purchasing, in hoping or waiting for the price to go down further, right? Or they may want to hold for more units to come in, expecting that the new units that comes into the market will be cheaper. So that's the mindset of buyers. And so in a shift market, seller will have to make a decision, a strategic decision, whether they want to sell now or sell later or pull out, right? Some sellers may not need to sell now, but they come into the market because they thought and they heard that prices are dropping. So they thought they would need to quickly sell before prices drop. But actually to some locations, prices has already dropped. And so they came in thinking that they can sell at the kind of price that they want, at the kind of price that they can make a maximum profit. So some are still in the market because they were dropped into the market. Like I said, some of them have been trying to sell for the past 2-3 years. They could not sell, and they have, by accident probably, dropped into a shift market. And so now they have to make a decision. Do they want to sell, or do they want to wait, or they want to pull out of the market altogether? All right. So if they don't have to sell, that means there is no need for them to go down on price. There is no need to sell now, because if they sell now, definitely they will have to sell at a revised price, and definitely they will have to cut down, or they cannot expect to maximize their profit. All right. But if there is no need for them to sell now, there is no need for them to cash out, get the money and do something else, then there is no need for them to sell.
So then they can always sell later, right? But for those who need to sell now, that means they need to cash out now because of many other reasons, then they will have to quickly decide and quickly sell fast and run, take the money and go before markets gets worse, right? That's why they need to look into the window of opportunity to quickly sell before they move on and quickly take the money and move on, right? So the strategy in the shift market is to sell fast by pricing ahead of the curve to catch the window of opportunity, right? So what's the window of opportunity? Let me show you. Now, in this chart, you will see that prices are in this darker gray area. These are the pricing that are in the market. These are the pricing that are priced to sell, right? So they'll probably take 3 months or 6 months to sell if they are pricing in this market. But in this market where they are pricing out of the market, then they will price to sit, right? They will price to sit, and afterwards you will see what are the kind of prices that will price to sit. So Gary Keller calls this a tale of two markets. Both sellers are wanting to sell in a shift market, but only some are willing to price it in to sell, and some are only willing to price it to sit, right? So that means to say, if you are priced out of the window of opportunity, then your property will are priced to sit. In a shift market, unfortunately, most of the properties are priced to sit. Most of the properties are priced to sit because sellers are not willing to revise their price and sell at a price where the market is expecting. All right. So these are the kind of pricing that you'll be looking at in every listings that you'll be taking in. So there are people who price in the market, there are people who price in a no man's land, and there are people who price out of the market. All right. So we'll look into that in a while. So the strategy again in a shift market is to price ahead of the curve versus pricing to chase the market. What is pricing ahead of the curve and what is pricing to chase the market? So we'll look at that. So if you want to sell fast, you have to be able to advise the seller that they have to make a decision to take advantage on the window of opportunity, right? So you got to look into that market rate. You got to look every time when we take a listings, we look into that market rate. Okay. And in the market rate, we'll look into the CMA, and then we decide what is the market rate. We look at past transactions. We look at asking prices. Then maybe we compare it with a few sites, with a few portals, get those figures and do some comparison. And then we look at the market rate. All right. So remember, when you are selling in a shift market, you got to look into the mindset of the buyers. So talking about market rate, when a buyer go into a certain market, he may see that there are 10 units for sale, same design, same size, and he's looking at the market rate. And so what he's seeing is that all the prices are the same, even though it is at a market rate as recommended by the agents. He may find that there's no what you call attractive prices that will attract them or catch their attention, because all are priced the same, right? And so what are they looking at actually? What are they expecting? They're expecting the price to drop, right? They're expecting the price to drop. And so with that, when they look into all these 10 units, they find that nothing is attractive. So what they'll do, they hold back. They may hold back or not interested, and then they move on to another location and find for other properties that are more attractive in pricing.
So what happens to all these 10 units that are in the market, pricing at the market rate? So who will get to sell first? That's the question you need to ask. That's why you need to look into the opportunity curve. And out of the 10 units, the first guy who gets to sell will be the first guy who drops the price. All right? And once you drop the price, you start to get the attention of the sellers, and they will come running and be interested in your property. Right? Out of the 10 units, the first guy who sells will be the first guy who take opportunity of the curve by dropping the price first. All right? And so by doing that, you're getting the attention of your buyers. Your buyers will start coming. I'm sure you have heard of stories. Even Joanne Ong has shared that day that her buyer in Alam Damai has been eyeing the market, eyeing properties in Alam Damai for 2 years. Right? So what are they doing? These buyers are waiting and looking for a bargain buy, right? For a good buy. And so what are they doing? They are actually hawking and eyeing the market. All right? And so sometimes you may say, oh, well, because that's also because they don't have the budget. Yeah, that's correct. When prices go up too high, it becomes overpriced, and the question is affordability. When there are less people who can afford that kind of pricing, then prices would have to go down to be able to sell. All right? So to get the attention and the buyers interested, your price would have to go down, so that you can match the affordability, you can match the interest, and buyers will look at it as an attractive buy. All right? So out of that 10 units, the first guy who gets to sell would be the first guy who take advantage of the opportunity curve by dropping the price and getting the attention of the buyers. And this is what you need to advise and how to advise the sellers. All right? So what happened to the other 9 units? The other 9 units will start to try to hold on to the price, and they will hope that there will be buyers at that kind of price. And that's the behavior of sellers in the shift market. And after 3 months or 6 months later, then they realize, oh, there's no buyer for this price. Then they decided to go down and realize that there's one transacted at this price. And so they decided that, oh, okay, looks like the market rate has gone down, and now we have to go down on price. And so then they move down the price. And so this is what we call chasing down the market. Right? They go down on price after some transactions, after the market rate has gone down, then they go down on price. And so they are chasing the market. By doing that, by chasing down the market, you're wasting time, and you're also wasting opportunities where you will miss all the genuine and serious buyers. Okay? So what will happen to all these 9 sellers who are selling? The first guy who sells again will be the guy who drops the price. And the rest of the 8 of them will start to wait and hold and hoping that there will be buyers for their price. And then they may decide to go down again 3 months later or 6 months later and drop the price. And so they are chasing down the price, chasing down the market. I've seen sellers doing that, and I've seen one seller doing this chasing the market and finally sold his property 1.5 years later, and he lost 500,000. Right? So by waiting and not taking opportunity of the window of opportunity, then they are missing the opportunity and they are wasting time and losing money. So you need to drop the price, take on the opportunity curve, and quickly get the buyer's attention, sell it off before the market drops further. And so this is what you need to show your sellers, that the price will be on a downtrend. That's why we look at past transactions to show the trend, pricing trend. If you can show the past 10 transactions, 12 transactions, and from there plot out the trend, the pricing trend, then you will be able to project the direction of the curve in that particular market or in that particular location. All right. So how fast will the price go down? How steep will it go down? That depends on the local market, on the kind of sellers that they have, and the quality of the buyers that they have. And again, of course, you have to look into the supply situation as well. All right. So all these factors will influence the speed of and the curve of the price. Right. So you got to look for opportunities, window of opportunities, by pricing ahead of the market to catch hold of that window of opportunity to quickly sell before the market gets worse in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months. Right. So I don't think we have seen the full blown of the post-pandemic. I don't think you have seen the full blown yet, but we are not sure what's going to happen for the next 6 months and for the next 12 months. And so, like what commented in a Property Guru article, we could be down into a long shift market. All right. So this is how you should explain to the seller to get them to price ahead of the market and take advantage of that window of opportunity to get the buyers to buy and to get the buyers to be interested. All right. So in a pricing strategy in a shift market, seller will have to make a strategic decision. If they can't go down on price, and if they don't have to, don't sell. Pull it out of the market. All right. If they have to sell now. Then you have to advise them to make a quick decision, take advantage of that window opportunity to sell with a revised price, and quickly take the money and leave the market. So agents should only work with motivated sellers. Some sellers don't have to be in the market, don't have to be in a shift market. If they are in a shift market, then they will have to sell at the revised price, at the right price. Otherwise, they will not be able to sell. But why are they still in the market? Only because agents are willing to take the listings at market and do the advertisements for them. After all, to the seller, no cost to them. So even if they want to sell at a high price in the shift market, knowingly basing on the figures and facts that they will not be able to sell, there are still agents willing to take their listings and do the advertisements for them. And that's why they are still in the market. They don't have to be in the market. But they are in the market because you as an agent are willing to take the listings. But you will not be able to sell. So why waste time? So what you should be doing is look for sellers who are motivated, who has to sell in this shift market. All right? That's why when you get the listings, ask them, why do you need to sell? Why you want to sell? When do you need to sell? At what price do you want to sell? What if you can't sell at the price that you are expecting? Will you be willing to revise the price? All right? So what is required from an agent? In a shift market, you have to start to shift the way you approach to the listings as well. All right? And you have to change the way you do your business as well. You got to serve with fiduciary commitment. That means to say you will be the kind of agent that the seller trusts you and willing to work with you, where you are committed to serve him and have his interest in mind. All right. So that's the commitment that they expect from you, not to just simply take the listings and then forget about the listings. Excuse me. So the market knowledge is very required from you, especially in the local market. Now, those figures that you read in the media those are national figures. All right, and so it may differ in your local market, in your area or the housing estates that you're looking at, because these situations may be slightly different there. All right, again, it depends on demand supply situations, the quality of the buyers, and also the willingness of the sellers. All right, so you got to be the person who is able to give them these kind of facts and figures
talk to them about the market situations with facts and figures. You got to know the market. And what is required from agent is that you know where to find the buyer, you know how to find the buyer, and you know what are the buyer's expectations. All right, so that is required of you. It is not just to post it up into the portals and wait for buyers to call. Now, in a shift market, negotiation skills is more required than in a good market. Why? Because in the shift market, buyers are cautious and worried that they are paying too much. And sellers, on the other hand, are a bit cautious that they are selling too low. And so you need to close that gap. And you need that negotiation skills to close that gap. All right? And you are required to be able to persuade the seller to work on that window of opportunity. And it is expected of you to be a more consultative agent. In a good market, you can just be a selling agent. You go and get the listings, you tell them, okay, I'll try to find a buyer who's willing to pay your price. And you put that advertisements in a few portals, and you wait for the buyer to call. In the shift market, that is not enough. All right, that is not enough. You have to be able to sit down with the seller, show them the figures, talk to them about the figures, look into the market together, and decide on the strategy and the selling price. Right? So it is not just to take the listings and post. It is more than that. You have to be consultative. And most importantly, you have to be what? Professional. You have to be professional. Now people are asking me, hey, prices has dropped, and so do I need to tell the seller that their property prices has dropped? So what are they saying? Agents looking at the figures are convinced prices has dropped, right? But they dare not tell the seller that prices has dropped, that the value of the seller's property has dropped. Why? Because they are afraid to do this. They are afraid to be doing what they call disappointing the seller. They are afraid to be the one that brings the bad message to the seller, right? So Gary Keller says you are not doing them any favor by softening the blow. You just have to tell them based on the facts and figures that the price has dropped. All right. So maybe when you go and see your seller to talk about pricing, and you are worried to tell them the facts, tell them the truth, worried that they will be angry with you, you should bring along this t-shirt. Wear this t-shirt and go and see them. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just bringing you the message. Don't be angry with me. All right? So that's on the funny side of real estate. Another approach to price it right. So you have to, now you have a motivated seller. He has to sell in the market. He has to sell now, right? Who has to sell in this market but are reluctant to go down on price. I'm sure you come across a lot of these kind of sellers have to sell now because of circumstances, because probably because they have overgeared, borrowed too much. Now some of their income are affected. They have to release some of the properties to cash out, to get some cash flowing. So then that's why they need to sell now. So but they are not willing to go down on price, right? So you can have another approach. You may have shown them the CMA, showing them the market rate, what is transacted, what is not what prices are selling, what prices are not selling, but they will still be very reluctant to go down on price. If they are at that kind of mindset, then there's another approach that I can suggest to you. All right. So to do that, I will be doing a role play with my prospective seller. My seller today is Mr. Su Seng Fei. Let's welcome him, Mr. Su.
Hi.
So Mr. Su will be my seller, and I'm going to do a role play with him. And I've told Mr. Su to be an obedient seller.
All right,
Very good student here.
to listen to the advice of the agent.
Yeah.
All right, so 1 minute.
I'm obedient because William is a very good negotiator.
Well, hopefully. Okay, let's start the role play.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Seller, thank you for meeting me with this virtual platform.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you for setting up this meeting with me. So what are we looking at this meeting?
So, well, after you have told me that you want to hold on to your price, even though I've shown you what kind of price is selling and what kind of price is not selling, and I've shown you the CMA earlier, I've come up with a strategy to sell fast. All right. So as promised, I will work closely with you to market this property until we get it sold.
All right. Okay.
So the strategy here is to find that one buyer and sell the property fast. Now the market is very unstable and it is difficult to predict what will happen to the economy in the next 12 months, in the next 24 months. So we need to sell fast.
Right.
So what I'll do is I'll have a weekly meeting with you in what I call a consultation meeting.
Oh, okay.
Are you okay with that?
I think it should be okay. But what if sometime I'm not free?
So if you are not free, doesn't matter. I will make it convenient for you. What we can do is we have a video conference. So then that cuts down the traveling.
Right.
And the meeting will only be about 15 to 20 minutes each time. In the we can do it early in the morning, like 8:30 a.m. before you go to work or start work, or like 5:30 p.m. in the afternoon on every Monday. What do you think?
I think it should be okay. We have to try it and see how it goes. But do we need so often? Need to every week? Because why don't you just let me know when there's a buyer instead of every week so often?
Well, if the selling is important to you, if selling this property is important to you, then we will have to meet weekly. I will make it convenient and fruitful for you.
Okay. So I think, yeah, we just try to have the meeting first and see how it goes.
All right, good. So let's start the meeting next week. All right. So I'll start the marketing this week. In every meeting, I will show you what I've done to market your property, to find a buyer.
Right.
And we will revise the marketing strategy where necessary because we want to sell fast.
Okay.
The goal is to sell fast and find 5 viewing fast. All right. So the strategy is to get to 5 viewing fast.
5 viewing. Why 5 viewing? Not 6 or not 10 or 2.
Okay.
Why is it 5?
So in today's technology, information technology, and all the market situations, viewing is a good measure of the success of the strategy that we of selling fast. So from 5 viewing, we should be able to get 1 offer.
Okay.
If not, if we are not able to get 5 viewing after 2 weeks, then we will have to revise the strategy. What do you think?
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so you tell me more about your viewing part. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so when buyers turn up to view the property, they are about 70 to 80% sold. So viewing is just a final step to make a decision,
Okay.
which allows us to close the sale on the spot. The more viewing we have, the higher the chances of closing, and that is the strategy to sell fast. So viewing is a measurement of the success of our strategy to sell fast. So if we fail to get any viewing within 2 weeks, we will need to go back on the drawing board and relook into the strategy.
Okay. So you're expecting 5 viewing as a measurement.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
If we are not able to reach 5 viewing in 2 weeks, then we got to relook at the strategy.
Okay. Okay, let's try this out and see how it goes.
Right. So our meeting, our weekly meeting will start next week.
Okay.
Okay, break scripts. Now, what you need to do is during that meeting, give feedback on what you have done to the property, what you have done in marketing the property. All right. So show them your advertisements and portals. Showing is a source of proof of what you have done. All right. Give them a screenshot. Give them your advertisement link, however you want to do it.
show them the pictures or the videos that you have made, the advertisements and the contents of the scripts. All right. So make sure your ads are in 3 portals, at least 3 portals, plus 1 Facebook post and 2 campaign done. Right. Campaign here is the campaign in command. Show them campaign that you have made, the number of engage, because in campaign, where you can show them the campaign, you can show them how many engagements there is in the campaign, all right, and how many leads there are, all right. So if you have engagements, that means your advertisements are going out to enough number of people, and you have leads, it shows that people are interested and want to know further. And if the leads doesn't bring to viewing, then you have not achieved your objective. So when you show the engagement and the leads, you are showing the responses of the market to the seller. All right, and from there he will know that people are interested, people are looking at it, but did not result in viewing, not that interested yet, not so attractive to them yet. That's the kind of message you want to send to the seller. Then you give them the feedback from the leads and the reports of the number of viewing that you have. Then specifically mention that there is no viewing. This week, I've done this, done that, these advertisements, posting these ads, but no viewing. I've got a few leads, spoken to them, but did not turn up into viewing. So every meeting, emphasize on the fact that there is no viewing. So when it comes to the second week, after the 2 weeks, the third week of the meeting, then of the third week of the consultation meeting, then you have to start a conversation again to talk about pricing. All right. So let's start a role play here. Now, Mr. Seller, you need to sell at this market, correct? And that is why our strategy is to sell fast. So to measure if our selling fast strategy is on the right track, we will use viewing as a measurement, as what we agreed upon. Yeah. So as you can see, I've done the marketing, I've done the advertisements to find the buyers. But to date, we have no viewing. We have got the leads, but we have got no viewing.
Right.
So I think we need to relook at the strategy. As I shown you the CMA earlier, we saw that what are the prices that are transacting and what are the prices that are sitting in the market and not so. All right. So again, looking at these numbers and looking at these figures, if you are a buyer today, how much would you pay for this property?
If I'm a buyer, I will look for a price that's lower than the market price. So maybe if the seller want to drop the price, as a seller.
Yeah. So it's very obvious the figures are showing you that you need to drop the price, right? So if the price is nothing close to, so what do you think about dropping the price?
How do you decide how much should I drop? How many percent? Is there a percentage to indicate or what?
Okay. Now, if the best is of course to go with those transacted prices. All right. The closer you are to those transacted prices, the better. If you are going even below the transacted prices, it will even be better. All right. But if you decide to hold on to your price or just drop your price a little and nothing close to those transacted prices, then we will probably have this conversation again 2 weeks later.
Let's say if the transacted price 2 weeks ago is at this certain price. So what do you recommend? How many percent should I drop based on the transacted price 2 weeks ago?
I think it's not important about the percentage. It is important to go with the transacted price.
So you are suggesting that let's say 2 weeks ago, the property was sold at 1 million. I should drop to 1 million. Is that what you mean?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Otherwise, if you want to drop just a bit from your the high level of price that you want, then we can go through this process again and trying to get people for viewing, and we will still be coming back with this same conversation 2 weeks later. So then you'll know, and you'll know then that you have wasted 4 weeks or 6 weeks.
Okay.
And so isn't it better for you to quickly sell, get the money and cash out? Imagine what you can do with the money if you would have sold this 4 weeks earlier.
Yeah. Now that you have explained to me the situation and the reason behind it, I think I'm more willing to really look into the pricing rather than, because sometimes I find that some of the salespeople or agent, they just push me to drop the price without telling me why. And so my feeling is that they just want to close the deal. Whereas today you are explaining to me the reason and you're actually working with me to come up with a strategy, which I appreciate very much. I think with that, I'm more confident in really looking at the pricing and how to adjust the price accordingly.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, I appreciate that you look into that CMA that I've shown you and showing you what kind of pricing are transacting and what kind of pricing are sitting in the market. So let's go with the transacted prices and grab hold of this window of opportunity to get a buyer to be interested and quickly sell and sell fast and leave the market.
Yeah, good. Hopefully you can help me. Thanks.
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Seller.
Right.
Okay, break script. So this is what you need to do to be professional, to get the seller to face reality, right? So ideally, they should be more ready to get to the right pricing if you do it this way. Again, cautious. Two cautious. One, if you want to do it this way, you must be working with a seller who needs to sell in this market, but not willing to go down on the price initially. All right. So this is one approach. This is one caution that you need to be aware of. No point working in this method with sellers who don't need to sell. Two, if you do it this way, this is what you call price reduction method, right? And if you are doing price reduction method, you are actually chasing down the market. And what will happen? You will take twice the time to sell the property. Right? You will double the time to sell the property. But if the seller is willing to work with you on that, to take a bit longer to test out the market, then fine and well with it. Right? If not, you have to caution them and be aware yourself that when you do this price reduction method, it will take longer to sell. All right? Okay, so I've come to the end of our presentation. Let's have a look at any questions that you may have.
Hey, William. There was one question from Jin Ko earlier on. I'm not sure if it was answered when you were talking about no man's land. Could you define what is no man's land?
Okay, so a lot of agents are recommending market rate, right? Market rate. So thinking that when you are pricing it at market rate, you will get a sale. And unfortunately, you will not. Like I mentioned in the example, when buyers are coming into the market, what's their mindset? They're looking for a good buy. They're looking for a bargain. All right? So if they come into the market, they look at the kind of property that they want, they found that there are 10 units for sale, all asking the same price. All agents recommend that price because they think that it's a market rate. So what happens to the buyer? He will overlook it. He will not show any interest. He'll move on to another location. And so that kind of pricing is in a no man's land because no buyers will be interested. So I hope that answers your question.
Thanks. There's another question from Christine Tam. She asks, could you please advise or suggest on the percent of price drop in order to catch the opportunity curve in time?
Yeah, it's difficult to give a percentage, all right? But the best way is to look at past transactions. If past transaction is showing you a 1% drop after every transaction or 3% drop every transaction, from there you will be able to do a trajectory of the trend of the price going forward. All right? And so another way to look at it, to find out how much you need to drop, is to look at your competitors. Sometimes your competitors may be in the market longer than you, then they would have tried out a few pricing and they know that those who doesn't work, they will keep dropping the price, and so it will be good for you to position yours closely to theirs in a market where the asking price is already lower than the transacted price. Then you wouldn't know how much you need to drop. So that if that's the kind of market situation, then you look at your competitor and you try to position your pricing closest to them or lower than them. Right? So again, tell your seller, don't worry about that they are selling too low. Because if they sell now, 6 months later, the pricing would have dropped even further. We are just at the beginning of a shift cycle. So if prices were to go down, it will go down further. Right? So tell the seller, you can even price it below your competitor so that you can quickly sell and move on. All right? Okay, more questions coming in. Fifi's question is, what if the area has no transaction for the past 2 years and there's not many houses for sale? You will reconsider working in such area or continue working to reduce the price. So if you are working in a high-end area where, example like Bukit Tungku and Damansara Heights, there are not many units for sale, then it's a very different situation altogether because supply is limited. Supply is limited. All right. So how many percent you need to drop is a different one compared to another location of a different kind of population and different kind of types of properties. So if yours is bungalow and you cannot compare with the kind of market situation of area where there are a lot of terrace houses or link houses. All right. So in an area where there are less units for sale, buyers will still be interested, but they may be holding on to wait for a bargain. All right. So these kind of buyers may need some negotiation going on for them to be able to come to a price. All right.
I think what Fifi meant was there's many houses for sale instead of hardly any houses.
Many houses for sale.
Yeah. So no transaction for 2 years.
Yeah. If there's no transaction, besides putting up the selling price, how many? Am I looking? Hold on, there's 2 questions from her. Okay, area where there's no transactions for past 2 years, not many houses for sale. Yeah, for this area where there's not many houses for sale and not many transactions.
She says so many.
Oh, so many houses for sale. Okay, so that could be a situation where a lot of people are selling, but they are not dropping on price. That's why there's no transaction. Because the buyers are not seeing it as an attractive price, and so they are holding back. Or because it could be that the demand for the area has gone because of other reasons, because of many other reasons. It could be that overhang, oversupply. It could be because there are few launches by some developers of the same kind of same type of property. So the demand has shifted to those kind of new launch properties, and so no demand for secondary properties. All right. Okay, let me have that. Fifi has one more question. Let me handle that first. No transacted price. So many. Or next one is. So another one is by Anita. Another problem, the transacted usually are markup price. Transacted are usually a markup price. Most buyers will request for markup to get extra cash to do renovation. And how are you going to explain that? I don't think all the transacted price are markup price. Even if they are markup price, it will probably be a small percentage above the market value, because banks have their own valuation as well. So it is not up to the buyer how much they want to mark up. All right, they cannot mark up at their wishes and fancy, right? So question by Eric Teo is, besides putting up selling price for seller, how and when do we go about asking for commission from the seller? Will the seller also take up putting up a price? If your commission is a question, then you will have to consider whether you want to work for this seller or not. If the seller does not appreciate the value that you have for them, that you are able to show them the facts and figures, that you are able to talk to them about the market, that you have good knowledge of the market, and if they don't appreciate that, then you have to reconsider whether you want to work for them or not. All right. So back to Fifi's question, some of these units that are for sale in the market, many for sale in the market, but no transaction over the past 2 years, and the prices are exorbitant. And so that's the point. Because the prices are exorbitant, buyers don't find it attractive, so they are not interested to buy. Right? So they move on to another location to find for other properties. Okay. So next one, are you referring to the bricks? So if you are looking at past transactions, bricks is the good one to look at past transactions. Some people say past transactions is a historical transaction. Not really. We want to use historical transactions to plot the trend of the market. All right. And that's the best way to plot. Past transactions is the best benchmark, because past transaction is an indication of the acceptance of the market at the price, right? So that means the market is willing and is ready to accept that kind of pricing, and therefore they are interested to buy lah. Okay, next one by Jasminda. Okay, Jasminda, I think what you are asking is the CMA. If you are not, if you do not know how to do your CMA, maybe you should refer back to your leader and ask them to train you on that. All right. So question from Susan: renovated house, dealing corner house, buyer wants high price, hardly any renovation corner. Seller wants high price, I think you're saying. So what is challenging for corner units are there is no typical or similar type of the same size of a corner unit. So what I'll do is I'll find the transacted price of a typical intermediate unit, and then find the price of the land, right? And value the price of the land separately, right? That will give you a rough figure of a corner unit.
Sometimes I think Susan is also asking like the condition of the house. Like if let's say a lot of transacted prices don't reflect the condition of this house that she wants to sell, because this house is renovated, and so owner is saying that she should get a higher price because it's in a very good condition. Okay, good question. Very common. Sellers are always saying, hey, my house better than theirs lah. I got better renovation lah. I spend so much lah. The news is, in the shift market, the buyer is not interested in how good your house is or what kind of renovation, unless it's very exorbitant or very different. All right. But in a typical, especially in a condo, how well you do, how much you put in the renovation, at the end of the day, renovation also has its wear and tear. One has its wear and tear, and therefore, after years of using it, just like your car, the value drop, no more value. So you cannot expect to sell a house and gain back your cost of valuation, cost of renovation. No way. Valuers will not give you that kind of value. Secondly, in a condominium or terrace house, whatever renovation you do, you cannot expand the size and the build-up of the house. So the value of the house more or less the same. In the shift market, buyers come in, the first thing they look at is what? Price. And if your house is in a better condition, it will only help the seller to sell fast, not sell higher. Because buyer will then look at all 1 million, but they will choose the best one, best condition. All right. So even if you have done a good renovation,
technically you cannot sell and gain back your renovation costs. Secondly, if your house is better condition, it will only help you to sell faster. That means the buyer will choose yours over the neighbor one, although it's at the same price. Good question. Next.
Christine has one other question. So she said that the BRICS transaction report, there's a delay. So is there any other reliable platform to check on the real-time transactions?
Within your market center, maybe you can try to get some, or within refill. I'm not sure whether we have this kind of services, but you can check with your market center, market support, to see if there's any transactions within the market center for this similar property. That's one way to do it. The second one is, of course, to look at the competitor's price. All right. So Marcus has a good point here. You can do your CMA in the H prop. The H prop will do a CMA for you, but that is only on the transacted price. They will tabulate the results, and you can print that out and show it to your client. The report is standard, what do you call, a very professionally done in a very presentable manner. And yeah, any more questions?
Yeah, Jasminda said that even bank valuers don't consider renovation unless it's a build-up that was extended.
Yeah, exactly.
So is that true? She's asking.
That's true. That's true. That's how the valuers value properties, and that's how valuers value renovations, right?
Fifi added, do you have a rough percentage of reduction for reno from initial price? Even valuation from valuer also will only be reflected if additional build-up or extension floor. Renovation, like no value added, it seems.
Okay, even if the renovation is new, let's say 2 years or 3 years, and cost very high, the most the valuer will give for you is about 30% or 40% on the cost of valuation, the cost of renovation. That is the max they will give. If the renovation is new, 2 years, 3 years, anything more than 5 years, it will be zero cost.
Adam said for extensions, like with proper documents from councils, would that be able to fetch better pricing compared to those without papers?
Well, again, it will probably help you to sell faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about fully furnished house? Will it be taken into the house value?
It depends on the kind of buyers that you have in that market, right? Again, if it helps, it will probably help you to sell faster, that's all.
So I'm hearing that actually renovation doesn't really add to the value of the house. It just helps you to sell the house faster at the same price.
Yeah, that is especially in a shift market. Because in a good market, buyers, in a good market, sellers will want to get back a bit from the renovation cost that they have spent. And so they want to add it into the selling price. And because it's a seller's market, buyers don't mind paying a bit more, even though they know they don't like the renovation, but they don't mind paying a bit more just to get a house. All right. But in the shift market, the mindset of buyers are different already. It's on the opposite. They are always worried that they pay too much. So they will not be interested in renovation, because most of the time, these are reasons why people, why valuers don't put a value on the renovation. First thing, depreciation. Second thing is the taste and the trend of the renovation. It is not the buyer's trend or taste, it is the seller's trend or taste. And so the buyer would not be willing to pay for a renovation based on the taste and trend of another person. Why would he want to pay more? If he can get away with it, he want to get away with it. In a good market, he don't mind, he bite his tongue and pay. But in the cheap market, he can get away with it, he will get away with it. He would not want to pay. Right? So if you insist on putting that renovation cost into your price, then he will just go to the next door to buy.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions for William regarding pricing? Seems to be a very hot topic, pricing.
Yeah, okay. Last question. I come across buyers.
Buyers and sellers will ask for estimated cost they will pay. Anita, estimated cost for what?
Cost of renovation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Then again, yeah, it can differ from location to location depending on your buyer.
No, she said estimated cost to sell.
Cost to sell.
You mean like legal fees or valuation fees, that kind of fees? Yeah. I think that one quite standard, right? The cost that they will need to incur.
Yeah, yeah. So they will have to look into the, the legal fees, the stamp duties.
Why many buyers don't like split level units?
Well, that's a different topic altogether. That's regarding the taste. Most locals don't like 3 stories. They don't like to walk up. They don't like the kind of exercise. So 3 stories, anything more than 3 stories will be difficult to sell. And
it depends on the age of the person buying also, right?
Yeah, exactly. So unless you're selling very cheap, then the buyer is younger, they don't mind. You know, so if you have a split unit, from outside it looks like 2 story, but when you go in, there are 3 levels. So you go down to the kitchen, you go to the living room, another floor level, you go to the room, another floor level, there are 3 levels. So technically speaking, there are 3 levels. So it's like a 3 story, although from the outside it looks like a 2 story.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much all the questions. Any more questions about pricing today regarding today's topic?
Okay, so what you need to do now is to remember, I'm sure by now you know how to do the CMA, but the final thing is how to talk to them about the pricing, how to tell them that the prices has dropped. Be professional with it, all right? You don't have to be cruel with it. You just have to be professional, show them the facts and figures, prices has dropped, you want to sell now, you have to go at this price, all right? So if you're still worried that they will kill you, wear that t-shirt. I'm just a messenger, don't shoot me, all right? So with that, I wish you all the best and see you at the top.
A few announcements to make.
Oh, yeah.
Just give us a few seconds to put it up. Right, okay, thank you, William, for your time and sharing your experience and knowledge on pricing properties the right way to attract buyers. So what we have here is the training calendar for next week. So just to highlight a few things for next week. On Monday, as usual, Monday morning, there will be Power Mondays by Jonathan Lee, and he will be bringing a special guest to talk to, Hugh. So that'll be on cultivating success through daily habits. So the day after that, Tuesday, will be a nighttime session. So please take note of that. It will be 9 p.m. By Roslan, where he will be talking about Shift Tactic 3. So this is taken from the book, Shift Tactic 3, Do More with Less. And then on Wednesday morning, Wing will be bringing us through how you should be running your business during this pandemic time. And with all the lockdowns that are happening, how to make the best of your business in this season. And then on Thursday morning, Winnie will be speaking on technology and how you can overcome your challenges when it comes to starting your journey on technology and being tech-enabled. Can I have the next slide, please? Right, so the H-Prop listings competition is still running. It will end on the 27th of June, just before midnight, so that's Sunday. So there's 3 more days left for you to stand a chance to win these amazing prizes, 1,000 H-Prop feature credits, as well as $50 US to use for your campaigns and Facebook advertising. Yeah, so yeah, just don't delay creating your listings on HProp. You have 3 more days left. Thanks. So next slide, please. All right, so we have updated our National Consumer Campaign Touchpoints. This is the latest one, and you can use this to send to your clients to just keep in touch with them, and also to gain mind share as well as stay on top of their minds. So you can download this from Workplace in the Review Happenings group. As usual, we upload it there for you to download and send to your clients. Next slide, please. Okay, our Red Day campaign is still running. We are still collecting computers for underprivileged children for use for the education. We're also collecting funds for this, also for the same purpose, for their education as well. Next slide, please. So this will be under Mako. We are still partnering up with them to collect these devices. So far, we have collected 31 computers, and for funds, we have collected 11,104 ringgit so far. Just to highlight as well that we see a slowdown in terms of contributions and donations. So just want to urge you that if you have any computers sitting in your house, or ones that you have upgraded from, and it's not doing anything, so please, I guess it's a win-win situation. You can do some spring cleaning in the house, as well as help out these children to have at least a reasonable education in their lives. And I also want to point out that this also can be an opportunity for you to use as a touch point. You can just reach out to them and your clients, and even your database. You can just reach out to them and say that we are collecting these computers or some funds. Do you want to contribute to this? To show that you're an agent who cares as well. Next slide, please. Right. Okay, that's all the announcements we have for today. Just want to say and apologize to all those who were trying to log in to Workplace to view this training on live earlier on. We seem to be having some sort of technical difficulty, and after several tries, it could not work. So apologies for that. However, we have recorded this session for your reviewing. It will be uploaded to YouTube sometime later today, and stay tuned for an update on either Workplace or from your market center to show you where and how to view this recording again on YouTube. So you can watch it again from the start. So that's it for today, this morning. Thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week on Monday. Thank you.